Hello again. Welcome to another Gung Ho show. Got a little frog in my voice. It is October 5th, and today I want to talk about why Trump cannot be taken down, why he's never been accused of a crime. I'm going to go into that, and a little bit about Lee Zeldin, because the governor's election is coming up very soon. And I'm going to tell you straight out, don't vote for him, and I'll tell you why. About Trump, there's been a lot of speculation about how come the feds never get him. And just recently, Jeffrey Toobin wrote a book, Why the Mueller Investigation Failed. There it is. And he really doesn't know, Jeffrey Toobin, what happened. I have the inside story because I've been on the inside. I was practicing criminal defense in the federal courts for many years. And this goes way back, but it will tell you straight out why the feds can't touch Trump, why he'll never be accused of a crime. All these things that are going on now mean nothing to him. They're basically diversions. They'll never take him down. I mean, our government. The FBI, Department of Justice, will never take him down, and this is why. I'm going to take you back now to 2000, and what happened is the feds actually brought down an indictment. It was a really big indictment. They claimed that the mafia, the Italian mafia and the Russian mafia had infiltrated Wall Street, and they did. And I was on the case. I had defendant number 3, Daniel Persico, Jr. A lot of people were rounded up. And when we went to court, now this is 2000, and it has effect all the way up to today. When we went to court, we found out right away that one of the informers was a guy by the name of Felix Sater. Felix Sater would go on to become one of Trump's partners. He would form an organization, or actually take over an organization called Bayrock, which is already at Trump Tower, and they would do a lot of business together. This is post-2000. This is after he was convicted. Let me back up. So Sater was a bad guy. He went over to Wall Street, and he was doing okay, got his broker's license, but he got into a fight one night in a bar, and he stabbed somebody with a margarita glass, and he wound up being indicted and going away. When he came out, he couldn't be a broker anymore. He can't be a broker with a felony. So he decided to run a phony brokerage. And he got all these mafia, and both Russian and Italian, involved. He did it. They stole a lot of money. And they folded. And he took off. Sater was actually born in Moscow. He came in, he was about 6 years old, and he settled with his family in Brighton Beach, Little Odessa. So he did this thing. They stole $44 million. They closed up shop and they left. He took off for Russia. But he did something really stupid. He left the records of this phony brokerage. What they do is they would pump stock up, sell it to nominees, and the stock would plummet, and the nominees would get it back to them. It's called money laundering, whatever. He left the records of what they were doing in a little, I guess, locker, and he didn't pay the rent. So what happened is the owner opened it up, and he saw in there these records. He didn't know what they were. There were some weapons. He called the police. The police called the FBI, and the FBI realized, this is like records of a major scam involving the mafia, both mafias. So they got word to Felix Sater, you better come back. He came back, and he made a deal. This was in 1998. This is before the indictment came down. Being I was an attorney on the case, I represented Danny Persico Jr., I've got discovery. And one of the things I got was the cooperation agreement that Felix Sater made with our government, with the FBI, the Department of Justice. That means he also had the protection of federal judges. I have it right here. He actually signed it on December 10, 1998. And if you watch MSNBC, you'll see a guy on there every day, I think. His name is Andrew Weissman. I call him Andrew Weaselman because he's one of the U.S. attorneys that flipped Felix Sater in 1998. So what happened is Felix Sater took a plea to racketeering conspiracy. They wired him up and they sent him out. He made this case that came down in 2000. However, all that time now, he was an FBI informer. And before he was sentenced, maybe around 2000, he went over to Trump Tower, and the government kept secret the fact that this guy had 2 felonies, and he was an FBI informer. And he went over to Trump Tower, and what did he do? He did business with the Trump Organization. And what did they do? Remember now, this is an FBI informer. The government is hiding the fact that he's a felon. They're letting him conduct business. And of course, he winds up doing business with the biggest, one of the biggest crooksters ever, I guess. What do? And this all can be proven, but nobody's going to talk about it but me. They launder money. They launder probably about $1 billion of Russian money from oligarchs. It's brought over and it laundered through the Bayrock-Trump Organization partnership. And this is all done with the protection of our government. So all this money is coming in from Russia. And I can't believe that this would happen unless Putin was behind it. And that's why Putin and Trump have been so close. Why Trump loves Putin because his friends were sending hundreds of millions of dollars his way and investing it in his projects. This all happened. And it could be proved, but nobody wants to do it because too many people are involved. I got involved again with this whole thing in 2018. Now remember, the case started in 2000, and everybody pled out. Everybody got a lenient plea, which was what we didn't understand that. Big case. Everybody's facing 20 years on a racketeering conspiracy. Everybody got a lenient plea. They pled out. All right. Before he sentenced Sater, he goes over to Trump Tower. In 2009, he finally gets sentenced. And he admits that, and I have the sentencing minutes, that he's been out there committing crimes. And now he's sentenced, and what is he going to do? Go out and commit some more crimes, because he's still working for the FBI. So all this stuff about Trump saying, you know, there's wiretaps in my building. Yes, there were wiretaps. Had nothing to do with Trump. The FBI had a Russian-born informer in his building, I think right below him, doing business there for maybe a decade or more with the protection of our government. What does that mean? Our government was the FBI, Department of Justice, our federal judges, and the presidents, whoever they were, Bush 43 and Obama. They had to know this was going on, that this Russian informer, FBI informer, this asset, was doing business with Donald Trump. So I started looking into it, and I found out this. So who was the FBI director when he was doing all of this? Because the FBI director had to know he was doing this. Guess what? It was Robert Mueller. All the time that Felix Sater was money laundering with Donald Trump, his boss was Robert Mueller. Mueller came on in 2002, I think. Bush 43 appointed Robert Mueller for 10 years. And then when Obama was elected, he kept him on another 2 years. That's 12 years as the head of the FBI director. If he didn't know he had this asset in Trump Tower, he's got to be an idiot. Even so, he's responsible for what his FBI asset was doing over there. Everything he did with Trump, Mueller is responsible for. And a lot of people know what he did with Trump. So there is one of the things that the most important thing is that our government let this Felix Sater, after he was convicted and even after he was sentenced, go out and commit financial crimes involving hundreds of millions of dollars that was stolen. A lot of it was stolen out of Russia. A lot of it was money, I guess, from other illegal things. But our government let this happen. And Trump was the beneficiary. Because the thing about money laundering is if I come to you and I have $100 million, and I say to you, Mike, I got $100 million. I want to give it to you. I want you to invest it. I stole the money. I looted some corporations in Russia. I don't tell you that I stole all this money. Just take the money, Mike. Mike takes the money. I'm guilty because I stole the money. I'm guilty of money laundering. You don't know the source. You're not guilty of anything unless someone can prove that you knew that I brought you money that I looted from these Russian businesses. Then you're involved in money laundering. It's hard to believe that Trump wouldn't know something like that. I think he knew, but no one's ever going to bring him down because he's going to say, well, wait a minute. You know, the FBI put this guy in my building. I did business with him. They kept secret the fact that he was a felon and all this stuff. Shame on them. So they've got themselves boxed in. He's untouchable. All right. So Mueller. What about Mueller? You know, everybody said Mueller, he's such a great guy. He was a Marine. You got to trust him. Not really. Mueller and I have some things in common. We were both in the Marine Corps at the same time. We were both Marine officers. And in fact, we actually served in the same area in Nam. I was there a little earlier than him. It was a very bad place to be. I made it out without being hurt. He got hit. AK-47 went to his thigh. He came home, and he went on to become a lawyer. And what he's done his whole life is he's gone back and forth. He's worked for the government in some way, like as an assistant U.S. attorney, then a U.S. attorney, then the attorney general, back and forth, go to a big firm, represent white-collar criminals, then go back to the government. That's just that thing. So, and the sad thing about him, about being in Nam, is the same thing happened to me. I know now that he was affected by Agent Orange because he got prostate cancer. And even his daughter, one of his daughters, came down with something very terrible that was a result of him being exposed to Agent Orange, spina bifida. These are things that our government admit. If you have children with spina bifida, there's a lot of other things. They'll give the child benefits, money. So he had prostate cancer, he had a daughter, legacies of the bad legacies of Vietnam. He's very proud of his time, in the Marine Corps. In fact, a big story was written about him. He says that time in the Marine Corps was like his defining moment. Very proud about being there. And supposedly that was what defined his character, being in the Marine Corps and being in Vietnam. All right. So comes 2017. Felix Sater is still out there working for the FBI, and Comey does something stupid. He starts talking about going after Trump. He should have realized if the feds can't go after Trump, you can't go after Trump. You can't bring Trump down. He's been in their fold for too long. And he gets fired, and who do they bring in? Mueller. Now, Mueller's going to investigate whether or not Trump is involved with the Russians, whether his campaign's involved with the Russians, whether Trump obstructed justice. Absurd. Mueller's not there to get Trump. Mueller's there to protect what happened with Trump and everyone involved, including him. And when I told my wife, Nikki, I said, you know something? Mueller's not going to do anything to Trump. He can't. Because he knows how the government has been involved, including him, with Trump. So in the end, they put on a dog and pony show, and he goes home. Nothing will happen to Trump. My wife got really mad at me, like, couldn't believe that they would investigate him for over 2 years and nothing would happen. I said, you could take that to the bank. Anyhow, Seda, while Trump was running for president the first time, popped up again and got in the headlines saying that he was trying to make a deal for the Trump organization to build the tower, the Trump Tower in Moscow. I don't know what he was doing. He just likes being in the limelight. I mean, he just loves it. Let me see. Well, this is Seda with Trump in 2007. They just opened a really big hotel called the Trump Soho in downtown Manhattan. These guys are really tight. When Trump ran for president, he said he really didn't know him. How could he not know him? They were partners for over 10 years in all kinds of real estate deals. And Trump doesn't know him now. And nobody calls him out on it. All right, so what happens? Mueller's going along doing his thing. And then at the I think it was November 2018, I think. It's common knowledge that Mueller uses Felix Sater. Now think about this. The FBI flipped him in 1998, and here it is 20 years later, and they're using him again. And who are they using him against? Michael Cohen. They're using Felix Sater against Michael Cohen, Trump's ex-lawyer at the time. And I saw that, and again, I said to my wife, Nikki, I said, that's it, it's over, that's it, using Felix Sater, that's like the swans, the swan dance or whatever. He's gone, Mueller. And sure enough, he folded. And what they did with Sater is they got him to say that Michael Cohen lied to him about the progress of the Trump Tower, the business deal. That's what they did. So Michael Cohen pled guilty to an information that was filed in the Southern District. And he didn't hurt Trump at all. Now, Michael Cohen could have said a lot about Trump, a lot about the money laundering. He was there all the time. Now, he didn't say one thing. He says bad things about Trump, but he didn't help him out in any way to get Trump. Nothing at all. Not even a little lie. Nothing. Gave him nothing. And that's okay with Mueller, and okay with Andrew Weissman, and okay with the federal judges, because they've been in on this, protecting Felix Sater, who protects Trump, protects them. So this corruption is so systemic and so broad, and everybody's involved. And they created Trump. I call him Trumpkinstein. He's a monster. He's our creation, our government, the agencies that we revere, the FBI, Department of Justice, our federal courts, our presidency. It all happened on their watch. And he's a bad guy. And he knows what he has. He's got the ace up his sleeve all the time. They can't get him. The feds can't get him. The state will go after him, and after a while, they'll fold. Like the DA in Manhattan was bringing a case against him, and all of a sudden, he folded. There was another case that was brought against his daughter, Ivana, and Gerard, about the Trump Soho thing. That folded, too. These other cases are bullshit. They don't mean anything. They're never going to bring him down. All right. So the truth is, he could run for president again. He could do that again. It was amazing that he did it the first time, because by the time he was running, the fact that he had done these money laundering deals with Felix Sater was becoming known. Actually, before that, And I know this firsthand because I got involved with the lawyers that were trying to disclose Trump's relationship with Felix Sater. Our government, the FBI, Department of Justice, federal judges, destroyed them. Fred Oberlander and Rich Lerner. I tried to help them out. But our government went out of their way to destroy both those lawyers. They tried to put them in jail. They didn't succeed, but they destroyed their reputations and everything. And it was all about protecting Sater. And why were you protecting Sater? Because what he did with Trump, and while he was protected by our government. This all happened. I could prove it. But nobody's going to listen. Nobody's going to go with it because it takes down too many people, including Mueller. I watched Mueller when he testified in Congress. I guess I'll have to come back for another show about Lee Zeldin. I went there. He didn't want to testify. I sat in the overflow room, so I was sitting like 5 feet away from this big screen watching him. He was a beaten person. You look at him and say, this guy was a Marine. He was beaten down. He didn't want to be there. And the questions weren't really good questions, except before he went there, I was able to contact one congressman on the committee. And I said, ask him these questions. And at the very end of the hearing, this congressman put a few questions to him. And you could see, how bad, how compromised he was. He said to him, did you investigate Trump's financials? He said, no. Mueller said, no. Did you investigate his connection to Russian oligarchs? Mueller said, no. Did you investigate whether or not he was involved in money laundering? Mueller said, no. How's that? Was the game fixed? Of course it was fixed. He was put there to protect Trump and himself and all the people that were involved in this. And I'm talking Bush 43 had to know that our FBI director had this Russian asset in Trump Tower. Obama had to know that. They all knew this, and they can't do anything about it. And Felix Sater is still out there, and he's untouchable too now. Although about 3 years ago, some plaintiffs, actually was the nation of Kazakhstan, a city in Kazakhstan, and a bank in Kazakhstan, sued Felix Sater in the Southern District of New York, and they're alleging that he and some other people stole hundreds of millions of dollars from them. The litigation is ongoing right now. That means that even though they made out a case for money laundering, a crime, they're only going after him civilly. So our government is turning a blind eye, literally. They're not seeing what's going on. It's so rotten that Felix Sater hired these lawyers. I know them now. And their firms, of course. One of the firms actually helped him launder money. It's come out in the lawsuit, but they haven't been charged criminally. But it's embarrassing to say, wait a minute, you know something? You represent Felix Sater. And we now have information or evidence to show that he put large millions and millions of dollars into your trust accounts and then took it out and it was sent to one of his entities. That's laundering money. Yes. And it's come out and no one's going to go down for it. No one. The only people hurt so far were the lawyers that try to tell the truth about everything. And they've been cut down. Their careers are over. They've been destroyed. I came forward to help them. I found out what was going on. I'm actually on the record and telling the FBI and the Department of Justice and the federal judges, what you're saying about Sater with his lawyers and the U.S. attorneys, you're lying. I'm on the record saying that. They haven't contradicted me at all. They have left me alone. They won't say a word against me because they know I'm telling the truth. But the truth does not come out right now. It's never going to come out, I don't think, unless someone falls on their sword, and it has to be someone that really knows what's going on. Like in Deep Throat, that was an FBI informer. he was way up in the FBI. He knew exactly what was going on. You need someone that is still there, maybe, and still knows what Felix Sater is doing, to say, this is what happened. Now, right now, they're waging a campaign to cover this up. Andrew Weissman is on MSNBC, I think, several times a day. He's the rat. He's the weasel. He's the one that started Felix Sater, and Felix Sater is still on a roll. And so is Trump. So the reason why we can't get Trump is because we made him. I mean, not us directly, but our institutions made him. And now they're protecting him. I mean, he's protected all the way up. Obama had to know. Bush 43 knew. Everybody knows what was going on. But they can't talk about it because it's not a Republican or Democratic thing. They all were involved in what was going on, and they all had blind eyes. And so what do we have? We have this guy that could do basically anything he wants, and people are really afraid of him because he knows the truth will never come out. And I guess anybody that's thinking about telling the truth is afraid of him, afraid of Trump, what he could do to them. How's that? All right. Anyhow, Eden, come here. Hey, come here. Hey, get up. Eden, come on up. Come on. Come here. Come here. Eden, come. This is my girl. Eden is she actually was a rescue dog. And she was rescued, and now we've been good friends for a long time. She belongs to my name, Dow. I've mentioned her on occasion. All right, that's about it. I'll have to come back and do another show, more about Trump and more about Lee Zeldin. Lee Zeldin is a rascal, too. Not good for us at all. Good for Israel, though. All right, I think I'm done.
Where have my old friends gone? Where are they now? Used to be a walk away in my hometown, but they're so far away, as far as walk can be. But in my heart they're close to. Yes, in my heart they're close to. In my